Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Modern Mining. Today I want to discuss a little bit about my Salad AI profits. How have my AI rigs been doing? Have they been making a lot of money? Has it been worth it? That sort of thing. And then I want to pivot a little bit because sneak peek, my 3070 rigs have not been getting jobs ever since the Salad customer issue happened about 2 weeks ago. So we're going to look at a new platform today, and that is called Nosana. Not sponsored or anything like that, and honestly I don't know much about it, so we're going to walk through it together, and then I'm going to get at least one 3070 rig set up on there to see if it's worth doing, or if you're better off just sticking on Salad but waiting for the jobs. So let's go ahead and take a look at my profits here, and then we'll jump into the Nosana setup and see kind of how it works. I don't even know what you get paid out in, so I'm going to be learning along with you guys. Today's video is sponsored by ViaBTC. ViaBTC has been a leading global blockchain service provider since 2016 with some of the largest mining pools for the most profitable coins. ViaBTC has a very active X account as well as a Telegram account with over 10,000 members. Be sure to check those out. ViaBTC supports merge mining Litecoin with 7 other coins. The list is constantly growing, and there's a reason they're the largest pool for Litecoin. They also support auto withdrawals, which makes mining setup as easy as just setting it and forgetting it and getting your coins when they're ready. ViaBTC is also rolling out a new crypto loans platform available on their website. So if you're interested in signing up to ViaBTC pool today, I will have my referral link down below. You get a little special benefits if you're a new member. Check them out today, guys, and make sure to do your own research before signing up for crypto services and products. Let's get back to the main video. So here is my Salad earnings dashboard. You can see here all of my machines. We'll quickly talk about the last 7 days, about $90. So that's not too bad. Looking at like $350 to $400 a month, and sneak peek, only about 4 of my rigs have been really actively running the past week or so. So this could definitely go a lot higher, but even at that rate, I'm looking at like a 4-month time to pay off a 4090, which is really not bad. That's not counting power cost, obviously, but really I found that especially on the high paying jobs, the power cost is pretty low. So I don't really factor that in. And also there's the 10% Salad fee. So it's probably more like 5 months to pay off 4090, but still that's pretty good because then at that point you've got essentially a free 4090. So total earnings so far are 532, and that's kind of the main thing. So let's take a look at our rigs down here. I'm also going to be going over some complaints with the Salad platform that I've had over the past few months of using it, and why I'm kind of excited to try out something else at this point. So one thing that's very frustrating to me is why every time do I come to look at my sheet do I have to check these 5 boxes here and then again check them right here again. Leave this shit checked all the time. I hate having to do that on my phone. It's kind of glitchy too. This is like a simple UI change that should take 2 minutes to do, so I wish they would fix that. Getting into the actual results here, you can see that the only really rigs that have jobs right now are my two 4090s and my two 3090s. So the 4090s are up here doing pretty good, around 26 cents and 22 cents. Granted, one of them has dropped down here as of late. Now the 3090s are not doing as good. They're at about 13 to 14 cents per hour, which is not the beast jobs on the 3090. But if we go to the aggregate over the last 7 days, or even the last 30 days, I did have a good 4-day period where all 4 of those rigs were on beast jobs. And then my freaking internet dropped again. So at this point, I've gotten my ISP out here to fix the wiring. I've changed the cable between the modem and the router, and then it dropped again, and I just replaced my whole router. So prayers now that this is finally stable, because that brings me to my next frustrating point about Salad, is that any little 2-minute blip in internet or power and your job is gone, and you could be looking for days to find a new one. And there's not really any transparency either on if you're in queue to find a job or how that works. So that's very frustrating. Granted, mainly because I haven't had reliable internet during that time, but that's been very frustrating. And you can see here, if I look at the individual rigs on the 30 days, this was that period right here. Where those rigs had pretty good jobs. And then you can see way back here was when all the 3070s and stuff were getting good jobs. But notice those 3070s, they haven't had a job in over a week. And I've got, how many rigs? 1, 2, 3, 4 3070 rigs and a 3080 rig. And basically those have not had jobs. So that's what I'm wanting to fix in today's video, or at least explore something else. So that brings me to Nosana. So really, I had a couple different platforms to test out here, guys. I had Nosana, Clore, Octaspace, and then like Vast is another one too. But really, Clore seems to just be sort of GPU mining. You rent it out so other people can GPU mine on your hardware. And another thing that worries me is they can mine very high power algorithms, and they don't overclock it or underclock it. So that worries me in terms of how hot my hardware is going to get. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen RPM's 3060 server with 12 gigabyte cards, and they were running like 90 degrees each before he turned the fans up. But that's the kind of thing that scares me. I certainly don't want to damage any hardware. So I'm holding off on Clore for now. Vast seems like you need like a legitimate AI rigs, very, very good CPU, a lot of RAM, and a very good GPU. And specifically in this video, what I'm trying to kind of target is those low budget rigs that I made. And maybe that was a mistake how I built those. So those have 3070s. The one we're going to use today has a 2600 CPU, so nothing special, and then has anywhere from 32 to 64 gigs of RAM. That's the kind of budget rig that I need to get on an AI platform that's going to give work to those rigs. So we're going to try Nosana today, and maybe we'll try some of the others in another video. And I'm not going to do a super detailed setup here, but we will definitely get into it. So here's the homepage here. For us, we are going to do hosting. So I clicked on this hosting link, and you can see getting started here. So basically, here's some hardware requirements: RAM 12 gigs, storage 256 NVMe, no issues there. Bandwidth, is 1 terabyte up and 1 terabyte down, so no issues there either. And 3070 is supported. Now, this is in Windows, which is another reason I'm trying this one first, because I don't want to basically re-flash HiveOS onto the drives that I've already have Salad on. That would be a lot of work just thrown away. Now, AlphaMine, I'll leave his link to his channel down below. He knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. He has a very cool setup where he has a Ubuntu on his Salad rig so that he can do some of the Linux-based AI platforms on the same rig without having to have 2 SSD drives. So that's something that you can look at as well. So here is the setup, guys. Let's go ahead and go downstairs, and we'll take one of our 3070 rigs off of the shelf, get it on the table where we can start to mess around with it, and hopefully get it hooked up to one of these. And now I am also going to use a smart plug so we can get accurate profitability measurements of a 3070 rig and see how it does. So let's head downstairs. So here is what the farm looks like. 4090's got a job. This one's got a pretty good job, it looks like. When the fan is turning off and on like that, it means it's not generating a lot of heat, which means it's not using a lot of power, but it is still making money. This one is spinning, which means it's probably generating a little bit more power, and this 4090 actually just dropped a job. So we had to figure out which one of these we want to pull down, and I believe this is the 3070 rig I want to test out, because it has 64 gigs of RAM, but a very budget CPU, the 2600X and that 3070. So I think this is what we'll pull down right now and bring down to our little test bench to get it set up here. And then if it works well, then we'll just remote into these and get those on there as well. So let's pull this down. So I will say that one thing that I do like about Salad is that it is just cash payments. I'm a little bit over crypto at this point because it seems like every smaller crypto is just tanks in value. Really haven't seen decent price appreciation in any of the coins that we've accumulated on this channel over the past year and a half. And so that makes me kind of want to stick to, let's just get cash payouts. And now the other thing here is Trade Ogre Exchange is at this point gone. Who knows if it'll be back? Probably not. And that got rid of basically the easiest method to actually cash out a lot of these smaller altcoins. So now you have the headache of, if you go with Clore or Octa, how do you actually get it into Bitcoin or US dollars if you don't want to hold those coins? And those coins are decent ones to hold, but at some point you're going to want to sell, and not having a US exchange to do it on, that's a pretty big downside. Also, tax tracking gets a lot more complicated with that. So I believe the one we're testing today is also a crypto coin, but we're just testing with a small one now, so not the end of the world to track that a little bit and get some small payouts. But like where we've made 500 bucks off Salad, that would be where I kind of want to start cashing out, and would be hard without a dedicated exchange. So I should have basically everything I need over here. Display port cable. Go ahead and pull out our dummy plug for right now. Ethernet, power. And then let's quickly get a keyboard and mouse out as well. I don't know what it is about these rigs. This wouldn't even post when I turned it on. I had to reseat the RAM again to get it to work. And when I built this rig, it was doing the same thing. So looks like I've got some updates, but I don't know. That seems strange. Now, one thing to note is this is only a 500 watt power supply. Should technically be fine, but it'll be interesting to see how much this actually pulls when we get it on a smart plug, which, talking about that, I do need to get another smart plug out so we can measure this one's wattage. Some of the 3070 rigs on the shelf, I actually ended up plugging into my 240 volt PDU because I was basically at capacity on my 2 circuits I ran over there. So I don't necessarily care too much about how much power these ones are pulling, at least when they were on Salad. But the 3090 and 4090 rigs, I'm still very curious about. So those ones are the ones that are still on the smart plugs. Going through the main setup here, first command is wsl-install, and that's going to create your account here. It's going to download Ubuntu and get you WSL. And then from there, you need to actually go install Ubuntu WSL, which we'll go into the Microsoft Store shortly. Second command here is wsl install-d ubuntu-22.04. That is the specific version it wants you to use. Well, I've run into my first roadblock here. So apparently, when it says open WSL2, that just means open Ubuntu. And it's only showing 23 gigabytes of available total memory. And it wants you to basically add this little .wsl config file to your directory, stating how much RAM to use, 90% of your total RAM. But this is not working when I include that in there and then restart it and run it. It's not working. It still says 23 gigs. So I'm a bit confused here. I'm going to keep looking through here and see what's going on. All right, got that working. Now we can see 56 gigabytes total. So how this worked, I needed to pull up an administrator command prompt and shut down WSL like that. I was just closing the tab with the X and that was not working. So make sure you do the full shutdown there. The other important thing here is on your text file that you make, you just want to make sure when you save it, we'll do a file save as here, that you don't want it to be that .text at the bottom. It helps if you put quotes around it and then set this to all files. That's what you want to do. From here, I was having a Salad error that kept popping up. So I've downloaded Docker Desktop at this point, got it installed, and then I went to Setting, Resources, WSL Integration, and to get the Salad error to stop popping up, I unchecked that checkbox and checked Ubuntu 22.04, and let's continue through the setup here. This is definitely pretty hands-on, to be honest. It's going to be annoying to do this on multiple rigs, but let's keep going. From here, we need to make sure Docker is added to its own user group. This was a bit confusing. I'll flash up on screen the commands I use to get Docker its own group, and how you know it works is if you go Docker run hello world from your WSL, you should get this right here. Now, one very important thing here is if you type in Ubuntu, I was not having this work, and you need to make sure that you're using the correct one. So I was in that one. You need to make sure you're in the correct version. Then for your Windows drivers or NVIDIA drivers, you want to install the NVIDIA app. You should already have this from doing Salad. That's this down here. And then you need to install the container toolkit, copy this command, paste that into your WSL window right there. And then I need to do this one as well, and then install that command. All right, well, I finally got it up and running, but it's still, like, the instructions need to be a bit better here, guys. it's giving me a wallet here. Is this my wallet? Is this the default wallet? It says I need to send Solana to that address. Again, is that my wallet? The instructions here say there'll be some instructions to register. Let's see here. When running the script, it'll ask for some information, email, Discord, Twitter. A benchmark will start. Yeah, none of that happened. And I'm just sitting on this screen. So I'm waiting for some answers for some people, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, so I've got it up and running now. This wallet is my wallet, so I went ahead and I sent a little bit of Solana there. I sent 0.5 so that it can cover the gas fees. Now it's wanting me to kind of register my node. Now the important thing here is that so that you can get in your Phantom wallet and find your wallet, you need to get your key, your private key, and that's located in this folder right here. So without leaking mine here, you need to go to containers, and then you need to go to files, and then this Nosana key.json, that's the one you want to grab. And then it's just a bunch of numbers. So you want to take those numbers, that's your key, and put it into Phantom Wallet and the private key, including the brackets. And then I put in my email here and my usernames, and it looks like it's starting here. So we'll let this run for a bit. We'll monitor our profits, and we'll see what happens here. So it's been about a week. I went to Minnesota for a bachelor party, had a sink collapse in the house with a big flood. So I haven't really been paying too much attention to this, but it is kind of completed my test now, and we can get our results. So a few things I want to state right off the bat. I did the Windows setup of this. There is a Hive OS Linux setup that Hobbyist Miner did in one of his videos. I would definitely go that route. The Windows setup was not fun. I would not want to do it on more than one rig. And yeah, so definitely go with the Linux setup there. A couple other things here. The results were definitely not that great. We're going to dig into them right now. It was technically profitable, but not by a ton. And I don't want that to leave a bad taste about Nosana because my rig just may not be ideal for it. A 3070 is definitely a budget GPU, and I'm specifically looking for a platform that can host my budget cards a little bit better. Nosana very well might be amazing for 3090, so I did a pretty limited test here. And the last thing that I would consider kind of Nosana's biggest flaw is that every single rig is its own Phantom wallet or its own Solana wallet. So if you have 10 rigs, you have to manage 10 wallets. You have to send Solana gas fees to every single one, which in my opinion is very poorly implemented. I want kind of all of my rigs funneling money to one spot. I'm not going to sit and manage and tax track 10 wallets. That's just not feasible. So here is what we got: $1.43, 2.19 or 2.819 Nosana, and we'll quickly look at the power cost. But we'll go over the dashboard first. I'm not honestly entirely sure what I'm looking at here. The blue is supposed to be like me versus yeah. So I'm not really entirely sure what I'm looking at here. It's definitely not broken down for the kind of beginner very well, but we can see our 2.819 Nosana, our accounts right there, our Solana balance in our actual wallet. And then down here, you can see the jobs that we've ran. So each of these was about 30 minutes for 3 cents. And they were all benchmark jobs, which as I understand it is not like a customer job who's rented your hardware, but it's just like benchmarking your hardware and you're getting paid for it. So granted, you are still getting paid for it. And we can see here that every single one of my jobs was a benchmark job. And I guess there was a couple here that maybe had a bit higher price. But if you take a look, they were actually double the duration. So basically about the same. So we generated $1.43, as we can see in our Phantom wallet here. What did we spend in terms of power? Well, I've got my Govee plug right here, and over the last 7 days, we accumulated 11.44 kilowatt hours. So let's times that by my electric rate, 0.11 cents. And you can see that we spent $1.25 in power, and we made $1.04 in profit. So basically we made 20 cents in about a week. So the verdict here is that Nosana would certainly not be worth it right now on a 3070. I spent a lot of my time getting this set up for a 20 cent profit. So I will not be continuing with Nosana, at least on the 3070 rigs. Sneak peek, I've got a bunch more 3090s on the way, and most of my 3070 rigs will actually be swapped into 3090 rigs very soon. I'm actually going to go film that video right now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to learn how to build a budget salad rig, I will leave it up here. But so far, I'd probably build an expensive rig because those are the ones actually making money. Check that out here. Peace.